You're listening to the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. Now here's your hosts, Kevin, Derek, and Alex.
All right, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. I am Derek, and joined as always by your co-host Alex. Kevin's not gonna make it with us tonight. He's off doing the family thing, little vacay. Good for him. But Alex, how are we doing tonight?
Doing good. Fresh off of a trip to Vegas. If anybody else was out there for the When We Were Young festival, power to you, because that was a madhouse out there. But it was a lot of fun. I spent the last 15 minutes talking Derek's ear off about it and explaining everything. Proud of myself that I did not visit any sports books on Sunday, because what a colossal week, a colossal you-know-what this week was in terms of what you thought was going to happen and what actually happened when it came to Sunday in the NFL.
Yeah, tell me about week 7.
So our group chat, it was bad. Okay. In the home league. All right. Let's just do this. In the home league, I was playing you this week, Derek.
Sure.
And Derek has had the fortune, perhaps misfortune, of typically going up against the highest score each week in our league. I can confidently tell you that Derek will not have an easier game or win than he had this week. My team put up 272 points. Keep in mind, in our league, a good week is 400.
An average, I actually looked it up. Yeah, I actually looked it up. The average in that league is about 415 to 420.
Okay, so you put up 424, which is the average, right? Little right there at the average. I missed that mark by about half, right? Little under half there. So just a bad week. Herbert didn't show up. Keontae Ingram, I don't even know if he still is on the Cardinals roster after he did nothing. Bad weeks just all around. Buys killed me. I guess the take buys and injuries. The takeaway from it is that on Sleeper every week they do a league report, and you can see who did what, who was the highest scorer that week, the worst team. I took those honors this week, and then it tells you how efficient of a manager were you? Did you maximize the points that you could have got? I scored 272 points. I could have only scored 300 max. I could have scored 300, which was by far and away the lowest output. So week 7 can go kick rocks, in my opinion. It's a loss. It sucks. But it's better than the loss that Kevin has to stomach this week, because he also lost. But he put up 506 points in a loss, or 504 points in a loss. And I think I prefer the way that my team lost versus the way that his team lost, because my team, I never had a shot. Injuries, bye weeks killed me. Week 7 can go kick rocks.
Although, my week 7 started off with the Deshaun Watson. And the
and that's the other. Your week 7. Your QB1 and your running back 1 got you a combined 0.75 points.
Right.
Not even a full point.
Right.
From 2 players.
Should have started Desmond Ridder.
Evidently, you were saved by the fact that the Baltimore Ravens defense just owned Detroit, which again, I did not see coming. Did not see Baltimore doing that to Detroit. Did not see the performance that Lamar Jackson had. So finally, Lamar Jackson owners are like, thank God he had a week. It was just a very strange week. A backup quarterback in Chicago beats a backup quarterback for Las Vegas. A guy who played D2 football. So Tyson Bagent's last 2 games are against the Las Vegas Raiders and the Colorado School of Mines. Those are the last 2 teams he started a football game against. And he looked like I said that I sent this text to. So did I send it to you guys? I might have sent it to you. I caught his post game interview. If you get a screenshot of it, he's got his hat on. He's got it kind of, cocked to the side like this. And I was like, Tyson Bagent, he's gonna, he looks like he's about to skateboard home to his mom's house and celebrate with some Sunny D. Like that's what. I know I'm getting older, but geez.
Yeah, you just became the get off my lawn guy right there.
A little bit.
Oh, but no, it was actually very interesting, right? You talk about the my woes of roster and all of that in the home league going into, and this was one of those that I looked it up and screenshotted and printed it because I honestly didn't believe it when I saw it. I had more points against than the highest scoring team in the league had put up through 7 weeks. Like, not very often do you see that in a league where one team has more points against than the highest scoring team has managed to score. So just to kind of illustrate your point of I've seemingly taken a lot of the best shots out there. I'm hoping that I've put in those dues and are looking for easier roads ahead here. I doubt it, but I'm hoping.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm ready to flush week 7 down. I won in my high school league, the league I'm in with a bunch of my high school friends, and then I lost in my work league because George Kittle put up 3 more points than I needed him to put up, and I got beat there on Monday night.
I had yes, like that was a crazy one. I also had one. We're going into it. We were playing. It was an eliminator type of league, and going into Sunday night, 3 teams in this eliminator, very closely packed together. One guy still has DeAndre Swift left to go. I've got Kirk Cousins. Another guy has TJ Hawkinson on the Monday night side of things. And when it all shakes out, with less than like 3 minutes to go in the Monday night game, it became one of those that all of those teams were separated by less than like a half point. And so I ended up surviving in that one. So survive in advance. That's the old adage that we're going to keep rocking and rolling with there.
I mean, yeah, it is what it is. I'm done with week 7. Let's move on to week 8, or at least talk about something that's not week 7 when teams are not so many teams are on a bye.
Fair enough. Ajishi's got us queued up on that one. What's up, fellas? Need to know if Kincaid is worth a number 1 waiver. Currently playing Taysom at the tight end spot. Thanks. Honestly, I'd stick with Taysom over Kincaid. Not spending a number 1 waiver priority on that one.
Yeah, so, I don't know that I go with Kincaid. I think you have to hope for advantages elsewhere.
I mean, Tampa Bay's 30, like they give up the fewest points to the tight end position. So if you're looking to try and play him this week, I get that Taysom also doesn't have necessarily the greatest matchup out there against Indianapolis, but Indianapolis is a far more favorable matchup than what Dalton Kincaid is going to get on Thursday night against Tampa Bay. So much so that I may have some more thoughts on Dalton Kincaid's performance this week when we get into the pines and shines. But that being the case, right, like this is one of those that Taysom Hill is actually in our waiver wire. And you can find all the waiver wires. Yep. You can find all the waiver wires on the, on all the socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all that. Best place, just go to the YouTube, look at the shorts. They're, you can find them all there. But Taysom Hill was actually the number 1 pickup when I was going through that one, just from the standpoint that with Juwan Johnson sidelined, Taysom Hill is seeing receiving work. That Saints offense needs to do something different in the red zone. And I think we started seeing what they're going to try and do, where they put a big old defensive tackle at fullback and Taysom Hill in the Wildcat and just try and run this thing in. Yeah. So Taysom Hill getting 5-6 targets a game and getting red zone carries, like I'd probably play him.
Yeah, I agree there. I know that it's not fun to play Taysom Hill at the tight end spot. Like I get that, especially now that it's not Sean Payton, it's not Drew Brees there. It is difficult, but I think you got to stick this one out.
So yeah, I mean, there's probably some other routes that I would look at going there, Ajiji, if I'm looking to play tight end. Dalton Kincaid just not the answer for me on that one. Yeah, and some of that's going to very much depend upon what you've got on the waiver wire there. But Taysom Hill, Logan Thomas would be two guys that I'd go with over that one there as well. Like Logan Thomas actually has a pretty safe floor. Like he's pretty consistently 4 for 40, right? You can pretty much guarantee that he's going to get 4 receptions, 40 yards. And if he falls in the end zone, he's a tight end 1. If he doesn't, he's still going to get you, a top end tight end 2 performance on the week there. So, and he's been getting targeted in the red zone. Like he has red zone targets in each of his last 4 matchups that he's played.
Yeah.
So, any other thoughts on this one?
No, but I will tell you, and I guess I didn't realize this. There are no teams on bye this week. So you've got your full complement this week of players. No teams on bye. You got to navigate some week 9 buys. I think there's buys sprinkled in for a few more weeks after this, but yeah, no teams on bye this week, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, that'll be a
welcome reprieve for teams for fantasy teams that are going through it. I
don't know why you have all the teams on week 7 when you could have just scooched 2 over to week 8, but
what
do I know?
You certainly could have. And I don't know if there's something with, I have no idea. I have no idea why the NFL did it this way. I really wish I knew, but
right.
I will say that Monday night game is not as enticing as I think. I think that the schedule makers were hoping it would be when they made it.
Probably.
Pardon me. And I also think that Sunday night game is kind of a dud. 2 teams that are really struggling right now with Chicago and LA. And honestly, I thought we might see a flex. I thought we might see NBC flex one of the late games.
Fair enough. I think LA is actually doing better than what a lot of people had anticipated them doing at this point in the season, though.
Yeah, but they like they've been snake bit, right? Like they've had a rough go. They've lost. What is it? All but one of their games has been a 1-score game, and they are 2-3 in those games. So that they're this, and realistically, this game that they lost against the Chiefs was basically a 1-score game. It got ugly late, and Kansas City pulled away, but like they were in it. So you lose by 2 to a really good Dolphins team, lose by 3 to the Titans, beat the Vikings by 4, beat the Raiders by 7, lose to a good Cowboys team by 3. It's just been one of those seasons where the Chargers have been right there, but not seeing the results.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely some interesting things going on there.
Some weird stuff, right?
Weird
stuff.
All right. So Terrence asking, should I pick up Jake Ferguson or Logan Thomas, currently rostering Musgrave? So as far as this one goes, right, it kind of depends a little bit on what you need there, Terrence, as far as their play this week, right? Like we just got done saying, Logan Thomas probably the safest floor that you're going to get between the two, right? He's 4 for 40 with touchdown upside potential, right? Like, and if he gets touchdown upside potential, he's tight end 1. Jake Ferguson has the much better matchup. Philadelphia, is the 12th, allows the 12th most points to opposing fantasy tight ends, whereas Jake Ferguson playing the Rams allow the 3rd most points there. So Ferguson probably is the ceiling play. Logan Thomas is probably the floor play for you. So it kind of depends on what you've got rest of rest of the ways on what you need to do.
But I don't think you need to move off of Musgrave. Like I don't know that you need to worry about that. Yeah, the Packers are going into a stretch here that's going to be not terribly fun, but they've got Minnesota this week, right? They got to figure out something with this offense. I think they're going to want to try to put Jordan Love in position to at least get them through the rest of this year. But you get the Vikings, the Rams, and the Steelers, and 3 of their next 4 are at home. So I don't know that moving off of Musgrave for Ferguson or Logan Thomas is necessary.
Yeah, you may not need to necessarily move off of him, but if you're needing to play this week, like I'd far rather play Logan Thomas or Jake Ferguson over Musgrave this week, and especially from the standpoint that Musgrave, we just saw him take that massive hit from Kareem Jackson, who saw some things there, which surprisingly it didn't really return to that game, and now has an ankle injury on top of it. So there were some interesting things coming out of that one. Jake Ferguson, though, does get the LA Rams. He does get Philadelphia, then the Giants, then the Panthers, all of which he's got 4+ matchups the next 4 weeks there. So you're streaming tight end, Terrence, and if you're looking for a streamer, Jake Ferguson makes a lot of sense. Logan Thomas, Philadelphia, New England's been tough. Seattle's been okay. Like, he's got a tougher stretch as far as schedule go as well. So this week I'd probably play Ferguson for the upshot. Any other thoughts there?
Nah.
Okay. Start 3. It's a full PPR. Kupp, Wilson, Pickens, Cooper, Higgins. Kupp's a smash start. I realize that he just had a poor week, but he's still a smash start. Cooper, I just don't know what we're gonna get out of this Cleveland offense.
But who's the quarterback throwing to Amari Cooper, right? Because look, I get that PJ Walker has gotten 2 wins, in his last 2 games, but it wasn't because PJ Walker played amazing and led that team to victory. It was because the Niners kicker has the yips, can't make a damn field goal, which carried into this last week. And it was because some really questionable, I don't want to say questionable calls, but man, some really fortunate things, just some fortunate happenings for Cleveland to march down the field late in that game to win that one. And you get like a pretty bogus illegal contact penalty on a play where, the ball was fumbled. Like, there was some fortunate stuff happening. But again, I like that Cleveland team is an enigma. And it's one of those that, like, I don't want to mess with, because you just don't know what's going on there. So yeah, I'm with you there on Cooper. Higgins,
I'll also tell you Wilson's in there for me as well.
Yeah, so I'm in between Pickens and Higgins right now. I think Pickens is it probably benefits from the return of why can't I think of his name right now?
Deontay Johnson.
Thank you. Pickens kind of benefits from Deontay Johnson, I think, just because defenses are going to have to worry about him. That's less pressure on Pickens, or just more distractions away from him. I think I go Pickens.
Yeah, I mean, I could get down with Pickens there as well, right? Like Higgins, I want to see the actual like return to what we know T. Higgins can do, right? Like I want to see it out there before I'm going to roll him out there. Yeah. Amari Cooper, it's a tough go because of the fact that with PJ Walker, you're going to get it's been inconsistent at best for Cooper.
Okay.
Pickens has back-to-back 100-yard games, and I'd roll with that.
So I was just, spitballing there. And now that I've looked at matchups and everything else, I'm for sure going Pickens. They're at home against Jacksonville. The Bengals are at San Francisco. So this week it's Kupp, Wilson, and Pickens.
Yeah, I think we're unanimous on that one because, like I said, there's matchups are there.
Yeah.
Yes. So Terrence, Cooper, Wilson, Pickens. That's our three. Stroud or Terrence Lawrence?
Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
Terrence Lawrence would be.
Terrence is asking about Lawrence. So,
Terrence is asking about Lawrence. There it is. Houston at Carolina. Carolina's defense hasn't been all that great. Stroud has been pretty darn good. This is the picks 1 versus 2 matchup. And T-Law's at Pittsburgh. This Pittsburgh defense is not great either. I don't know. Which way are you leaning here, Derek?
They're back-to-back for me.
Yeah.
Both of them are top 10 plays, Terrence. So I don't think you're going to go wrong either way. Either way you decide to go, right? Like Trevor Lawrence gets a little bit of the nod, like a little bit of the edge for me on this one, just because the Steelers do allow more, 7th most fantasy points to opposing teams, whereas Carolina, they've been a little bit better, 10th overall, but 22nd against opposing fantasy quarterbacks there. So a little bit tougher matchup for CJ Stroud. So if I have to pick between those two, I'm going to roll the Trevor Lawrence. Both these games are on the road. I'd rather take the guy that's in his 3rd season on the road than the rookie coming through, even though CJ Stroud has looked fantastic throughout there. This is also one of those that I think Pittsburgh has a chance of keeping this thing closer than what Carolina does. And so if it's a closer game, Trevor Lawrence, you may see him more involved. Plus, Trevor starting to show off the wheels there a little bit. Thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think Trevor Lawrence is the safer floor. And that's not to say that I don't think he probably is the higher ceiling play too, but I think he's the safer floor. So I'll lean Trevor Lawrence.
Fair enough. With Achane, Williams, Ford, all out, should I roll Najee and Hall or pick up a running back on waivers such as Devin Singletary, DeMarcado, Reynolds, long shot of Henderson?
I think I would rolling Najee and Hall.
Yeah, I think you could roll that one, right? Like I got no problem playing Breece Hall as the as a running back, right? Like I think he's coming on strong. He's got a plus matchup against the Giants here. The Giants have been just bad.
Yeah.
So Breece Hall, I could see him being a top 10 back. The question really comes in for Najee on that one. Najee against Jacksonville. It's a tougher deal. The Jaguars are 31st, so they give up the 2nd fewest points to opposing running backs there. So a little bit of a tougher matchup there. And when I say tougher, I mean incredibly tough matchup. If you wanted to roll with a Devin Singletary, if you wanted to roll with a Henderson, I wouldn't blame you, but it does also depend on who you're having to drop to pick those guys up. Henderson probably has a top 20 back upside this week. Devin Singletary is kind of a sneaky play who has been just really kind of coming out of nowhere. I say coming out of nowhere when really he's just been producing very well. And I'm calling my shot and planting my flag on Devin Singletary later on in the show.
Yeah, I think, man, if you want to play the DeMarcado or Keontae Ingram game or whoever the hell the Cardinals sign off the practice squad this week that they make their running back, I don't think that that's the place that you need to look. Reynolds is an interesting one. Darrell Henderson was a serviceable running back for the LA Rams, which is why they went back and got him, right? Plucked him off of whose practice squad was that and brought him back because he knows the offense. He knows, what's expected there in LA.
Now that keep in mind that Henderson gets to go up against the Cowboys.
Which is that's a very tough defense.
Yep, 8th fewest points against, and you're gonna have to fight for people on the waiver wire for Henderson, right? Like Darrell Henderson's
right.
a good
commodity.
For 3 weeks that you can roll him out as a starter, right? Devin Singletary's got the matchup. I don't know that I can in good faith tell you that you should roll Devin Singletary out over Najee. Even though Najee's got that tough matchup and all that, and Devin Singletary's going up against Carolina, who gives up the second most fantasy points. There is some of that it really comes down to Houston having to get out on a lead and just kind of, really run the ball. So,
yeah, I think you stay put with Najee and Hall.
Okay,
I really do.
I can get behind that. And Terrence, if you got somebody that you can drop to pick up Singletary as a potential stash and all that, that's not a bad move either. COD Reaper. Hey fellas, who should I start or change? T-Law, Mostert, James Cook, Thielen, Myers, drop Musgrave for Logan Thomas, Metcalf, benches, Jordan Love, Brian Robinson, Javonte Williams, or that's Jamal Williams, Romeo Dobbs, Higgins, Judy. I think you're pretty well set.
Yeah, I think you're fine. Nice to get Thielen back in the lineup. He was sorely missed on my roster last week on bye.
Right. Yeah. The only potential change that I could see there is if you wanted to roll, Brian Robinson instead of DK Metcalf, just, the matchup, DK going up against the Browns this week.
Is DK even playing?
That's also part of that too, right? Like DK ruled out late last week. I would imagine that if he was a game time decision, he's probably good to go for another week here, but he's dealing with both a hip and a rib injury. So
it was just a rib injury, right? It was just a rib injury. And now it's a hip and a rib injury.
Right. So I think that that would probably be the only changeover I'd make is I'd probably roll Brian Robinson instead of Metcalf at this point. But I don't see any.
That's a call that you're going to have to make because those inactives, Seattle's playing in the late window. So you're not going to know the inactives until after Brian Robinson's played.
Yeah, but at the same time, you'll get Thursday reports on practice, Friday reports on practice. And those are usually pretty telling as far as whether a guy's trending to play or trending not to play.
Really,
but either
Bijan
way,
Robinson?
Say what now?
Said really Bijan Robinson? Everything was fine with Bijan Robinson until now the NFL was investigating.
Yeah, until he had an illness at the yeah.
But he said he had it on Saturday night.
Fair enough. So, yeah, I don't know what the deal is with that. I'm very curious to see what that investigation has to say on it.
Yeah, I just think yes, there's plenty of information to glean, from the tea leaves on a Thursday practice report and a Friday practice report. But his injury designation has now added a second ailment, right? For DKs who we're talking about here, it has now added a second ailment, and you'll have to wait until that afternoon window. So, that's a roll of the dice.
Yep. Saying the kickers, Jake Elliott, and the Jets defense. Yeah, I think you're pretty good there. Terrence saying drop Sam Howell, one spot open, one of JSN, but have a lot of wide receivers. So yeah, if you wanted to try and pick up either Henderson or Singletary with that last waiver spot, I wouldn't fault you for that one.
Yeah, and look, JSN, maybe JSN at some point this year, but this week, no.
Learning, and Terrence saying that he's learning to stay put. Last week dropped Moody for Maher. benched T-Law for Hal, Musgrave for Thomas,
Oh.
instead of winning by 0.26, lost by 17. Yeah, some of those get a little rough on that one.
The more you tinker, sometimes, look, I tell you, like, there are times where I set my roster based on my gut. And yeah, more often than not, I'm wrong. But I can live with myself. Don't tinker just to tinker.
You say that sitting next to a constant tinkerer.
Yeah, don't. It's not worth it. Like, set your roster, leave it alone. Go away. Set the phone down for a little bit. Come back to it if you got questions.
Actually, that's some pretty good sage advice there, right? Like, get your roster set, and if you're not sure about something, set it down, walk away, do something, come back, take a look at it, and that you'll typically see. Yeah, you'll typically come back to it with much clearer eyes at that point and make better decisions on that one there too. So, yeah, and
that sucks, Terrence. That really sucks.
Terrence, although as far as the Trevor Lawrence part of it goes, right? Like, I get that he actually had a really good week last week, finishing as quarterback 10. But if you looked at just his passing numbers, which is what we thought that we would see, because everything leading up to that game was he's dealing with this knee injury. He may not even play. This knee injury is so bad that he may not even be able to get up and get out there and go play. He went 20 completions for 204 yards and 1 touchdown. Like, that's a pretty pedestrian average. What carried him over to get up there was his almost 60 yards rushing and those extra points on the ground there. Which, yeah, I don't think anybody would have saw that one coming either there. So anyway, Terrence saying that he'll grab Devin. Sure, somebody will grab Henderson. Yeah, Henderson's going to be the hot commodity there. I don't mind if you rock and roll the Devin Singletary, who's kind of crazy sneakily coming up there because of the fact that everybody thought Dameon Pierce had a stranglehold on that offense there and had the running back locked up, and he has kind of been ceding touches everywhere you look on this one. Like, it's kind of crazy when you really start digging into the Devin Singletary side of things.
Oh, yeah. Just kind of hoping that he would hold on to that job.
Yeah,
but he did.
Devin Singletary last game actually up around 54% snap share on that one. So things looking interesting out there in the Houston. All righty. Well, guys, again, if you have any comments, questions, anything like that, go ahead and throw them in the chat. You can, and we'll hit those up. We'll rock and roll through it. But let's go ahead and hit up our Pine and Shine recaps here. We got the old Pine, and let's go ahead and roll through that here. Alex, go ahead and kick that one off.
Yeah. So for my Pine running back, I said Roschon Johnson, which was a no play because he didn't play, and Dante Foreman looked really, really good, and finally, right? Like, I've been pounding the table for Dante Foreman, and it finally happened. So I got nothing there. I called Amon-Ra St. Brown. While he didn't hit his projection, he only missed it by 1, which is wild given that the Lions could do literally nothing against the Ravens there. So for him to put up what he put up, it's pretty remarkable.
Yep. Yeah, and, he did all right there.
And it was a rough day for me watching Dallas Goedert get the ball thrown to him so many damn times on Sunday Night Football, because I didn't think it was going to happen. It was National Tight End Day, and players, they were finding the tight end.
You're not kidding, were they? Kevin had a pretty good week, though, in his Pines. The call for Alexander Madison to be a Pine. Things look like Cam Akers is starting to carve out a role there.
Mm-hmm.
So the Alexander Madison call definitely garnering him some points there. Came through with a big way on the Thursday night call last week with Calvin Ridley on the Pine scoring 1 point. I think that actually puts Kevin now in the second for the biggest, point differential on a pine or shine call, and then called for the Mark Andrews pine. Well, Andrews hit the projection, well outperformed his points, so lost him a little bit there. But Kevin coming through with a really good pine total there. I had an okay pine day, right? Called for the Jonathan Taylor. That one didn't come through. Keenan Allen felt this one definitely hit on this one where he's projected to be wide receiver 5, finished at 41. Definitely did not hit that one. Got a few points there. Evan Ingram also did not hit those projections and came through for me on that one. Let's go ahead and hit up the shine recap here. So the shine, go ahead, Alex.
As bad as I was there on the pine, kind of redeemed myself here on the shine. AJ Dillon came through for me in terms of rank, not so much in terms of points. Rashee Rice had a good game that was really, really helpful. I still have no idea why he was projected so low. The Chargers defense is not great, and he found the end zone, so that was nice. Michael Mayer did not come through for me, so I lost points there. But overall, I'll take that. That's probably the biggest point total I've had in a while in one of these. So, yeah.
It was a very solid week for you there. Kevin did not have that solid of a week on the shines. So good as he was on the pines, the shines did not help him here. I called for the Craig Reynolds. That was a miss. Wan'Dale Robinson, I don't know if he got the message that the Giants were playing football or not, but that didn't turn out very well. Same thing with Durham Smythe. Like I had to look up and make sure that Durham Smythe was actually played in that game.
Active.
It wasn't a scratch on that one. So Kevin losing some points there, still came out positive on the week overall. My shines did all right. Donta Foreman, right, called for that one. Only running back 1 on the week. Gotta love it when the guy you called that's an RB3 ends up RB1 on the week.
That's nice.
Curtis Samuel, not a good one here. As good as that Donta Foreman call was, the Curtis Samuel one let me down here. Luke Musgrave, also a bit of a rougher one here. That him getting knocked out of that game early certainly didn't help there. But anyway, let's go ahead and hit this up because we were talking about it last week that we were going to showcase the totals on this thing here. And Alex, you put together 2 back-to-back positive weeks, so very nice job there.
We've climbed out of the negatives. It was a rough first 5 weeks there. Well, week 3 was pretty good, but 4 of the first 5 weeks were really, really challenging. But it's a long season, right? It's a marathon, not a sprint. So,
right. I'm just going to keep sprinting though, if it's up to me. So
look, and you'll wear yourself out. That's fine. You do that. Tortoise in the hair.
Fair enough. Built for stamina and speed. Here we go. All right. So, anyway, I've got the lead here, and I'm feeling pretty good about it. Right, Kevin's running second right here, but I've got a big lead, and I'm planning on just increasing this every week.
Sure. So. But as big of weeks that you've had, just know that there are bigger numbers to be had either way.
Right. Like it's I have the biggest plus and the largest minus as well. So, right. Like it's part of that when you swing big, you either hit a home run or you strike out. And so there's very little times when you swing for the fences that you get a, bunting single. So It happens. But anyway, any other thoughts on the old pine and shine and where we're sitting?
No, I don't like this new scoring system. I'd like it a lot more if it worked in my favor.
Fair enough. Well, we'll get into some more pines and shines here for week 8. See, and I've even been waiting to get into the show doc here till later on to let try and be the last person to take those picks. So I'm not getting first choice on stuff. But oh well,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
All righty. Well, are we ready to talk some Thursday night football here?
Let's do it.
Thursday night, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers facing off against the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills favored by 8.5. The over-under on this one, 42. Thoughts on this game?
So Buffalo obviously needing to bounce back, right? After kind of a head scratcher, losing to New England, who has not looked good, but somehow able to eke this one out. And again, look, there was just some weird stuff happening in week 7, right? So Buffalo needs to get back in the win column. Tampa traveling to Buffalo. I haven't seen a weather report for Orchard Park yet, but the Bucks have kind of lost their way a little bit here the last 2 weeks. Again, they lost kind of a head scratcher to an Atlanta team that they probably shouldn't have lost to, because that Atlanta team didn't have Bijan Robinson playing. Like there's just too much there. So we'll see what comes of it. Thursday night games are always so tricky. But did you find a weather report for Orchard Park?
I have not.
What it's going to be. Let me look this up really quick. On Thursday night, it should be a decent. I don't think weather's going to be an issue Thursday there in Orchard Park. So, look, 8.5 is a big number, but I think the Bills at home will have something to prove. So I'm going to take the Bills and the 8.5.
Fair enough.
That over under of 42. I think if the Bills get that 8.5, we're going to have to see the over. So I'll take the over there. And then my player prop, I'll go to the other side, because I think that Buffalo scores a lot, that Tampa's going to need to chuck the ball around. So I'll go Mike Evans over 62.5 receiving yards.
Fair enough. So Kevin sent in his. He's got Tampa Bay. He's going to take the over, and he likes James Cook to go over his rushing prop of 49.5 rushing yards. I like that prop as well, and I almost went there and was going to do that, and then looked at the show doc and went, "Oh, Kevin's already called that one. We'll pivot and go somewhere else." So I really like that one. So both you and Kevin seeing the over. Both of you guys are on different side of the ball, or different side of the coin flip there in the matchup. I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay side of things. I think Buffalo really hasn't looked good in 3 weeks, right? Like they came off of that not very good performance against the Jaguars over in London. They came back, played the Giants, looked miserable, bad in that game. They did not look good in this against New England last week. So 3 straight weeks of not looking great. Tampa Bay, while they haven't necessarily, been a world beater either, I'm gonna take them to cover 8.5. See this is a 1 possession type of game. I'm gonna take the under as well. These are 2 teams that have kind of struggled to put up points lately, so not gonna go that route there as well. I'm going with the under. As far as the prop goes, Stephon Diggs going over 87.5 receiving yards. And for everybody that was looking at the socials out there, him talking about he feels bad when folks miss props and fantasies and all of that on that one. So I think he's going to be motivated to go out there and do this one. So we'll look for him to go over. Any other thoughts on this game?
Nah, it should be I think, I hope that week 7 was the anomaly, right? Like I have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen each week. I mean, look, we don't know what's going to happen, but you have a pretty good idea. Week 7 took that book and threw it right out the window. So I'm hoping that water finds its level here, and what I believe to have known about the NFL is still true, because week 7 really challenged that.
Yes, it did. That's one of those when you look up and you're just like, I thought I had an idea of what was going to happen, and nothing went according to plan. Not a one thing. No, and usually at least one thing goes right, but yeah, it is what it is.
I think the only thing that I thought I knew was that no. Seattle would beat Arizona. That was like the one thing. I was like, yeah, Seattle will beat Arizona. Aside from that, toss up. And and Minnesota beating San Francisco. Like, there's just so many head scratching results.
Yeah, absolutely. Couple of things coming in here. Bayou Bengal saying hit that like button, y'all appreciate that. And Tino's time saying I'm thinking that's supposed to be what's up, guys. Not
Waste
much.
up, guys. Nah.
So both Tino's time and Bayou Bengal, they've got some pretty good YouTube channels out there as well. Yeah, stop by and check them out when you get a chance. All righty. Well, are we ready to hit into the pines and shines for week 8?
Sure, let's do it.
All righty. I look forward to increasing my lead here. I'm just going to keep talking on this one. All right. Here we go. Pine and shine, week 8. And we're going to start off with the
do this podcast by yourself. You keep talking like that.
Oh, okay. I see how this is going. All right, let's go ahead and get into this one. Pines and shines, week 8. We've got the Pines here, and the Pines, of course, are guys that we think are going to miss their projections, not necessarily live up to where they're ranked or where they're projected. You may not necessarily want to bench them, but guys that we think will underperform, and to keep that in mind as you go through and make roster decisions for week 8. We'll go ahead and start off with the running backs. Alex, why don't you go ahead and kick it off?
And this is a prime example of guys. Look, I've got Kenneth Walker. I'm going to play Kenneth Walker this week. I don't think Kenneth Walker is going to have the week that everybody thinks he's going to have, because he's going up against that Cleveland defense, and that Cleveland defense is pretty freaking filthy. So I'm going to go Kenneth Walker here as my Pine running back. He's projected running back 10. So in RB1 territory, his projected points is 15.4. Again, I'm going to play Kenneth Walker. I'm going to start Kenneth Walker. I just don't know that Kenneth Walker has as good of a week as everybody is leading themselves to believe.
Fair enough. Kevin's going to take Bijan Robinson. Obviously, we just saw the performance here in week 7. He's going to call for him to be a Pine here. He's currently projected running back 13 on the week, projected to do about 13.8 points for fantasy here, up against a tougher, up against kind of a tougher matchup, and we'll have to kind of see how this thing looks and plays here. Tennessee has been pretty good against opposing running backs here. My Pine, I'm going to take Josh Jacobs, who's going up against a very tough matchup in the Lions here, who give up the 4th fewest fantasy points to opposing running backs. He's currently the running back 14 on the week, projected to do about 13.4 points, and I don't think he's going to get there. Let's go ahead and head on over to the wide receivers.
Sure. My wide receiver this week, I'm going to go Jamar Chase. He is projected to score 14.1 points, settle in there at wide receiver 6. The Bengals this week have a very, very tough matchup with San Francisco at San Francisco. I think it's going to be tough sledding for Joe Burrow and company. So I'll put Jamar Chase. Again, you're going to start Jamar Chase. I just don't think he's going to have that great of a week.
Fair enough. A guy that you'll start because you're not going to bench him, but
No.
That's the same here with what Kevin's calling. He's calling for Tyreek Hill to miss his projection, right? He's currently the wide receiver 1 on the week, projected to do about 20.5 fantasy points in half-point PPR scoring. He's going up against the Patriots. The Patriots have, for all of the faults in the down year that the Patriots have kind of had out there, nothing else. They've stopped wide receivers who they only give up about the 6th fewest fantasy points to opposing wide receivers here. So Kevin calling for Tyreek Hill to miss that one. I'm going to go with CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb currently ranked wide receiver 10 on the week, projected to do about 13.1 points on the week. And again, a very tough matchup here. He's going up against the Rams, and the Rams are giving up the 3rd fewest fantasy points to opposing wide receivers here. The Cowboys, have had some struggles lately, and I I don't know that we're going to see CeeDee Lamb hit those projections. So looking for him to miss that one. Let's go ahead and hit up the tight ends.
I didn't realize I did this, but I called for it last week too. I totally forgot that I called him for him last week. But yeah, I'm going to go Dallas Goedert again, which inevitably means Dallas Goedert's going to have a great week because I think I've pined him or put him on this pine list 3 or 4 times, and each time he has just gone ham. So if you've got Dallas Goedert, play him this week because I think he's not going to have a great week, which inevitably means he's going to finish with tight end 3, tight end 2. Like it's what it is.
Yeah, it's.
I don't know why I don't like Dallas Goedert so much. Maybe it's because I had him and he did nothing the first 5 weeks of the season.
It could be. You've got that recency bias.
Uh-huh.
Kevin calling for Darren Waller to be a pine here. Darren Waller currently the tight end 8 on the week, projected to do about 8.7 points. Yeah, he's going up against the Jets. The Jets have been pretty darn stout here on defense. 26 overall as far as the fewest points allowed. So they're top 10 defense here, and Kevin playing the matchup. It looks like I'm going to go with Dalton Kincaid for my pine. Right, like we had a question earlier about the Dalton Kincaid on this one. I'm calling Dalton Kincaid to be a pine. The Buccaneers give up the fewest points to opposing fantasy wide receivers. I think it's very fair to say as well that this offense is not going to run through the tight ends in this one. So I don't see Dalton Kincaid having a very good week, and he's going to be my pine here. Any other thoughts on the pines and the shines?
We can get to the shines.
All right. Let's go ahead and get to the shines. So the shines, of course, are guys that we think are going to have really good weeks here, outperform their projections. Let's go ahead and start with the running backs. Alex, you want to lead it off?
Sure. Before we go, is there a reason why I don't have a number next to my wide receiver? Did I miss something?
Because I didn't see it.
Okay. Okay. That's fine. I was like, shoot, is he not playing? Okay. All right. So my shine running back, I'm going to take Aaron Jones. I think the Packers need to get back to basics. I think running the football is the way that they do that. I think they need to protect Jordan Love a little bit more because he's had a rough couple of weeks. So the way you do that is to provide easy options for him. So turning around, handing the ball off, checking down to running backs and tight ends. That's how you get a quarterback in rhythm. Minnesota's not that great defensively, so I will. I'll take Aaron Jones here. He's projected our running back 19 with 12 points. I'll handle Kevin's.
Go for it.
All right, so Kevin is going to go for Jahmyr Gibbs here. The Lions are going up against the Raiders on Monday night. Thank you. Stalling enough to pull that up. Gibbs is projected running back 12, so still running back 1. But looks like Kevin is expecting him to far exceed his 14.2 projected points.
Fair enough. And if they if Monty's still going to miss that miss time here, like that's probably a pretty good call. The Raiders, very easy matchup to target for fantasy matchups there.
Yeah.
As far as mine go, I'm taking a guy that, again, we were talking about him a little bit earlier. I am taking Devin Singletary to be my shine of the week. He's got a fantastic matchup going against the Panthers here. Currently, he's the running back 40 on the week, projected to do all of about 7.3 points. We've seen him steadily kind of increasing his snap share percentage. I think some of that's going to continue here, and I think that we're going to see Devin Singletary just have a wonderful week when this thing's all said and done. Let's go ahead and head to the wide receivers.
All right, my wide receiver, I'm going to go with Michael Pittman. Look, Gardner Minshew can throw the football around. We know it's going to be Gardner Minshew, so he can play a little freer, right? Like he doesn't have to worry about, when Anthony Richardson comes back. Like, look, Gardner Minshew is going to be Gardner Minshew, and I think when he can play a little freer, I think things are better for him, and he can chuck the ball around. New Orleans defense, New Orleans as a team just struggling right now. So give me Michael Pittman. He's projected wide receiver 32 to score 10.2 points. Kevin's going to go with Drake London. And he Atlanta's at Tennessee this week. That's a good matchup for them. That's a really good matchup. I like this call a lot here, especially after the week that they just had, kind of riding some momentum there in Atlanta. London is projected wide receiver 31 and 10.2 points. Same there as Michael Pittman. That's nice. Right next to each other, those two.
Yep, right in line. I'm going to go with another guy that's in the 30s when it comes to wide receiver rankings. And in fact, he plays teammate of your shine here. I'm going to take Josh Downs, who's come off a couple of pretty good fantasy performances here. So he's got a little bit of a hot hand going here. New Orleans, you're right. Like they've been a team that's been a little bit down lately. However, the defense has been pretty good as well over the past few weeks here. And typically, the Saints don't give up many points to opposing fantasy wide receivers. They're top 10 defense as far as fewest points allowed to opposing fantasy wide receivers here. However, they give up like the 9th most yards to opposing fantasy wide receivers in the slot. That's where we're seeing Josh Downs taking a lot of that to come through. So I'm gonna ride the hot hand. I'm gonna think the rookie's gonna come through with a really great game here. He's currently the wide receiver 39 on the week, 9.1 points. I think that he has another blow up game here. Let's go ahead and head to the tight ends.
I'm glad we don't have to pick that game right now. I'm not even sure I know who to pick when that thing happens.
Right.
Oh man. All right. Sorry, I was just thinking about that because I am going to have to make a pick on that game, and I don't know what I want to do. All right, my tight end, I'm going to go Tyler Higbee. The Rams, they're on the road at Dallas. Just I don't know. Give me Higbee to fall in the end zone and make it work. He's projected 22, tight end 22. 5.3 points.
Fair enough.
Okay, the real reason behind that is because look, Dallas's pass rush is really good. So Stafford's not going to have all day to pick out, Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. It's going to be a lot of quick routes, and that benefits a tight end.
I can see that.
Oh, yeah, I got to do Kevin's too, huh? Kevin's going to go for Hayden Hurst, who's projected tight end 36, 4.7 points. Hayden Hurst. And who are they playing this week? Let me find it. Carolina. Oh, yeah, against Houston. I don't mind that. I think you got to, rookie quarterback. Try to get him into some rhythm. Find Hayden Hurst. Hopefully, Hayden Hurst find his way into the end zone.
Absolutely. So I'm going to take Logan Thomas. Currently, the tight end 14 projected to about 6.3 points. I feel like I'm getting a guy that with his projection, I'm able just to hit that with his floor. Right, like we're very consistently seeing him get 4 for 40. Yeah, with red zone upside, red zone touchdown potential here. So I think Logan Thomas has a very good week out there for the Manders. And the matchup is okay. It's not necessarily great with them playing the Eagles. However, I do think that we do see Logan Thomas get some pretty decent work when this thing's all said and done. So anyway, that'll do it here for the Pines and the Shines. Any other thoughts on them?
Oh, I guess Dallas Goedert's going to have himself a week again. So
that will happen.
Can't believe that.
That will happen. So we had originally kind of chalked up some of the midseason awards type of deal here. Quite frankly, if you're good with it, I want to punt on that one and dive into a thought exercise that I sent you guys over the weekend.
Sure. Yeah, I'm fine with. I don't feel like it's right to do midseason awards without us being in full force. So yeah, we'll punt that.
All right.
Move to the thought exercise.
Okay. So the thought exercise that I sent you, that sent both you and Kevin was, going back to 92. So 30 years. Going back to 1992, which franchise, which organization would you say has had the best run over that 31 season stretch? And you can't pick the Patriots,
Right. They would
the
be
only.
they would be the ones that you would say, oh, well, they've won 7 Super Bowls. Clearly, they're the best one.
Right. They are fully excluded, and they were, anyway. So you can't pick the Patriots. What's the team that you would say probably has had the best run over 31-year span here, since 92?
Well, I'll say the Broncos. Look, it's been a rough last 5 years, 6 years, 7 years since winning the Super Bowl in 2015, but they won the Super Bowl in 2015. They also went, back to back in 98 and 99. They made their way to several. They made their way to another Super Bowl, in between that one. They've been in AFC, conference championship games. They've had, good success over that time frame of winning their division, owning their division for a stretch there in the early 2000s, and the late 90s and early 2000s. I recognize that the last 6 years have been challenging, especially with the fact that they can't beat, some of your rivals consistently. But for a stretch there, for that, 25-year stretch from, say, 95 to 2010, or excuse me, 15-year, 2010, 2015, that 20-year stretch there, that Denver was basically automatic. Even when they were bad with Tim Tebow and Josh McDaniels, right? They still kept finding their way into the playoffs. They beat the Steelers in a playoff game, right? I think the Denver Broncos, outside of the Patriots, who oddly enough ended that magical run with Tim Tebow,
Right.
I think the Broncos. I think you can make a case for the Broncos. I like Kevin's other answer too. I think they've been good since they've been in the league, and that was the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? The only other team to win as many Super Bowls is the Patriots. But a lot of theirs happened pre 92.
Right. There's a lot to be said about an organization that really, since that time span, has had two head coaches. That's couple of Super Bowl wins, couple of they've been to the Super Bowl a couple more times on top of that as well. And the fact that Mike Tomlin still hasn't had a losing season in 16 years as a head coach, just speaks to the model of consistency.
Yeah, the Steelers are 4-2 this year, and they just won. What was it? Their 7th straight game after a bye.
Mm-hmm.
But they're 4-2 this year. Their point differential, they are -24.
Right.
So they're losing big, but man, when they win, they're winning the close ones, and you got to win the close ones. Look at what the Chargers are going through right now. Right, they're not winning the close ones. The Vikings 2 years ago, or last year, I guess it was, won all the close ones. Right, they won all those 1-score games. This year, they're not winning those 1-score games, and it's just it's the difference between 2-4 and 4-2 when you win the close ones.
Right. So I like all of those answers there, right? I think some other ones that you could potentially bring up there would be teams like, you could potentially bring up the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
Right. They would be a deal in there as well. You could bring up the Rams.
Success, right? Ultimate success. Green Bay's not really there, right? They won in what, 97?
during that time frame, right? Like,
yep.
we
They
talked
won
about
in 97. They went back in 98 and lost.
Right. They've won 2 and been to 3.
Yeah.
During that time stretch, right? The Steelers, who we just got done talking about, they've won 2 and been to 3, I think, during that same stretch.
Yeah.
Right. Like, realistically, teams that have won 3 during that stretch would have been the Cowboys, because that 3 in the early 90s still fits it. Yeah. Fits into the narrative. And nobody, is going to, pound the table for that one, I don't think, off of their last little bit there. Denver has won 3. I don't
4.
Yep. The Rams could be another one of those. That
the Rams, St. Louis, when they were still in St. Louis, they were very successful there, right? If it weren't for a stadium dispute.
Right. You had the greatest show on turf type of thing, and then coupled now with what the Los Angeles Rams have been able to do.
Yeah.
They've been to a few here. So there's lots of these teams kind of out there, but the reason that it's kind of all of this started, and the reason 92 is a particular year on that one, is I started seeing after the Packers lost to the Broncos on this one, how Packers fans just kind of came out of the woodworks to talk about, the sky is falling type of thing, because they don't really understand that it's not normal to go from one Hall of Fame quarterback directly into another Hall of Fame quarterback. It typically does not happen, right? And so I was seeing all of these things about they need to get rid of LaFleur, and they need to just squash the whole. There is such a thing as a rebuilding process and a reloading process, and the Packers really don't have a bad roster. They've had a whole lot of injuries that have crept up on them as well.
Yeah.
Right. Like Jair Alexander is one of the best corners in the league, one of the best defensive backs in the league, and hasn't played much. David Bakhtiari, one of the best offensive linemen in the league, hasn't really played much on this one.
Had another season-ending injury.
Right. So there's a lot of those types of things that kind of kept popping up there. So sorry, Green Bay fans. It is okay to have one bad season every once in a while.
Look, and we were spoiled in Denver, right? Like, we were spoiled. We went from John Elway, who was a first ballot Hall of Fame, right? John Elway. And then we we went into purgatory there for a little bit, right? There was Brian Greasy couldn't do it. But they tried to get like Gus Farrat to be the dude for a little bit. Bubby Brister, who was, obviously one of Elway's backups. And then they brought in Jake the Snake, right? What's his last name? I can't think of his last name.
Now I can't remember. Usually I got those things.
It's right there. Arizona
Plummer.
State star, Jake Plummer. Thank you.
And then Jake Cutler.
And then Jay Cutler, right? But like there were issues there, right? And so but Jake Plummer was a good quarterback. He got the Broncos to an AFC Championship game. They lost to the Steelers in that game. That's Steelers, I think, went on to win the Super Bowl that year. But they were, he was good. They kind of predicated, their team, on that zone running scheme from Mike Shanahan, all that fun stuff. And then it things kind of went south, right? The Josh McDaniels experiment didn't work.
The Tim Tebow experiment,
which was the Tim Tebow experiment with Josh McDaniels, and then that forced John Elway to come back and get involved with the team again, and that ultimately brought Peyton Manning to Denver once the Colts decided that they were going to go with Andrew Luck and cut their future Hall of Fame quarterback. So look, Denver went from Hall of Fame quarterback to Hall of Fame quarterback, but there was 10 years, 15 years in between when that happened. And they didn't win a Super Bowl, and they went to 2 after that. Yeah,
the amount of
it's hard.
first round picks that were spent on
Yeah.
quarterbacks trying to find the guy.
Yeah, it's hard. And so, you mentioned this with the Packers. It's no secret. I've lived and worked up in North Dakota for a time, but North Dakota State football, really good football team. They're going through it right now because they don't have a quarterback. They don't have a consistent quarterback. But they went from, I kid you not, like this was their quarterback succession. The all-time winningest quarterback in FCS history, Brock Jensen, won more games as a quarterback than anybody has ever won as a quarterback. Brock Jensen got replaced by Carson Wentz, who was the number 2 overall pick. Carson Wentz got hurt and was replaced by Easton Stick in his redshirt freshman year. Easton Stick is an NFL quarterback, but he replaced Brock Jensen as the all-time winningest quarterback in FCS history. Nobody's won more games as a quarterback in FCS history than Easton Stick. So they had 2 all-time winningest quarterbacks, and in between those 2 guys, a number 2 overall pick who won a Super Bowl and was on track to be a league MVP before he blew out his knee, right? And then after Easton Stick went, they had Trey Lance, again, another top 3 NFL quarterback who, yes, it hasn't panned out in the NFL for him because of injuries and other people taking advantage of their opportunities. But that's what North Dakota State, that's the last 12 years or so of North Dakota State football. And it's no wonder that they won 10 national titles because they've had those 4 dudes at quarterback. Likewise with the Packers, right? The Packers have had Hall of Fame caliber quarterback play for the last
30 years.
30 years, right? Yeah. It just doesn't happen. The Steelers fans are going through it right now, right? Like the Steelers were.
I don't know that you can say Steelers fans are going through it. They haven't had a losing season in 16 years.
Yes, but they also have expectations of what their team should be, and I think that they're falling short of those expectations, right?
That's fair.
Steelers fans expect to win. Like that's just who the Steelers are. And for the most part, they meet those expectations. And yes, they're meeting those expectations this year. They're just taking a different path than Steelers fans might be used to getting wins, right? It's not the Ben Roethlisberger show anymore. It's, okay, we're having to try to learn, how does Kenny Pickett operate? So I think those are, I think in the last, since 92, so that's, we're talking 31 years, without the Patriots, I think it's Broncos and Steelers that have been the most, have had the best run for their fans.
Right. Outside of the Patriots, of course. Right?
Outside of
they weren't allowed to be picked.
We weren't allowed to. Yeah, we weren't allowed to have them.
So, alrighty, I like it. Let's hit up some comments here before we call it a night here. Tingley saying, "Hey, y'all trading Kamara for Garrett." I'm assuming that's Garrett Wilson and Alvin Kamara. If that's the trade offer, I want the Alvin Kamara side.
Yeah, I'm not trading Kamara at all. He's found his footing again there in New Orleans.
Fair enough. I would trade him for Travis Etienne.
Yes.
Like it's going to take a massive haul to get Kamara. Dylan asking, trade Mixon, Hunt, Downs for Michael Thomas or Michael Thomas for Eckler. The Eckler owner also had Achane and Connor to IR. Doesn't have any other running backs. I have too much depth at each position.
Why are you trying to help him out?
Well, he's getting Austin Eckler out of the deal. Hunt is so. I don't know that I have a problem taking this deal and trading that away to get Austin Eckler, right? Like he's a little bit down, season long, yada, 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 right? But he also missed some games there. So, and Austin Eckler is what, a top 5 running back
when
week
healthy.
in, week out? Yeah. And I think we're getting to a point where I think we're going to see him back healthy here.
I mean, he is a top 5 back, but his top 5 back consideration was the fact that he was finding the end zone pretty darn consistently.
Right. I mean, he's 2 games back from injury. Against Dallas, tough defense.
That's very tough defense.
Kansas City's probably got their best defense that they've had under with Patrick Mahomes there. And that was kind of a grinded out, grimy game. But looking at it, right, you get Chicago this week. This is the week that you'll probably see Eckler blow up. The Jets, then Detroit, both of those tough games there. Green Bay, Baltimore, New England. Then you finally get into Denver, Las Vegas, Buffalo, Denver. So you get to finish off week 14 needing to get in type of thing. You get Austin Eckler against Denver. And championship week, you get Eckler against Denver. Joe Mixon is a RB2 and a lower end RB2 at this point during the season. Kareem Hunt, no, thank you. When Ford's healthy, we've seen that that is Jerome Ford's backfield. Mixon comes off with Buffalo or San Francisco, Buffalo. I don't know. I would want to keep Josh Downs, Dylan, if nothing else. So it'd be Mixon, Hunt, and Michael Thomas for Eckler.
There, he's got another one here.
Yeah, Michael Thomas has the name value. Josh Downs is a guy that I'm trying to actively go after in a lot of leagues because I think that we are just seeing the breakout start to happen.
No.
Also, here's his running back depth. So Pollard, James Cook, Mixon, Hunt, Spears, Herbert.
Do have depth. Good Lord.
Yes, he does. Yeah, I'm good doing this deal, right? Because at this point, Mixon and Hunt are your RB3 and 4. So you're going to roll out there and you're going to run. Your Cook now moves to your RB2. And so you'll be able to roll out there and really roll Pollard, Eckler, and James Cook down the stretch. I like that.
Yeah.
And if you can try and get Connor back, you can certainly try and do a 3-for-2 deal. I don't know if I'm moving both Eckler and Connor, even though Connor's on IR, but interesting things are going to happen out here in Arizona before too much longer, I think. Any other thoughts on this trade offer?
No, I think we've got it.
Okay. George asking, do you guys think Olave will have consequences after his incident yesterday? I think that the league will let the legal process play out, and then we'll hear from them.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, that's kind of been the MO of the league of late, right? We'll see what happens in the court, and then whatever supplementary discipline we need to add, we'll add later. They're not really proactive in terms of punishment.
No, because I think they want to let the legal process take it due course and then chime in.
Yeah.
So, Thanos Heisenberg, that's a name for you. Do the Packers have a shot against the Vikings?
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, look, I didn't think the Vikings had a chance against the Niners. I thought the Niners were going to come back out and remind the league who they are after an embarrassing loss against Cleveland. And then they didn't. And the Vikings showed up. But look, we've also seen the Vikings play terribly. So do the Packers have a shot? Yeah. Am I probably picking the Vikings? Yes.
I mean, right now this is a 1-point spread on this game here. So even Vegas sees this as a coin flip type of shot. You've got home field. Yeah, it's a divisional game. So one Vegas sees this as an incredibly close game. 2, when you're talking divisional matchups, rivalry type of things, things get even crazier and closer at that point. So yeah, I think that they've got a shot. It'll be an interesting game to watch for sure.
Yeah.
George saying my team is 7-0 with Tua, CMC, Kenneth, Cup, Olave, Goddard, and flex of James Cook. Should I trade James Cook and Olave for Jefferson and Downs? George, some of that really depends on what else you've got running back depth wise, right? If that's really all you've got is CMC, Walker, and Cook, and insert random waiver wire type of guy here, I don't know that I'd necessarily do that trade. But I am always a big fan of getting the best player in the deal. Justin Jefferson, obviously the best player in that deal there.
Yeah. When's Jefferson coming back?
I believe he's got 2 more weeks on IR. So I think the earliest that we'll see him is after week 10, I believe.
Yeah. And they said 4 to 6 initially for his.
Right. So it also depends too, right, George? Because
can you afford to not have Jefferson in the lineup for the next 2 weeks?
Right. So because your depth is certainly going to get tested there, right? Downs will have some blow up games, but it'll also have some down games there. And Tua has been doing really well. CMC for the most part and Kenneth Walker have been kind of carrying you on some of those.
Yeah, Tua's been really great. CMC for sure. Yeah.
So, yeah,
George have a good week this week,
right? So, George, as much as I want to tell you, there we go. Okay, bench. He's got T.J. Warren, Daryl
Henderson, I assume.
Tank Dell, Deontay Johnson, JSN, and Jameson. I like the Jameson play, but I like that because of the fact that the thought is that he probably got a bump up in the depth chart there in the Lions with DJ Chark, or not DJ, with Marvin Jones stepping away. JSN, we've seen him do some decent things if he's in there, but it's going to take Lockett or DK to actually miss for him to get in there.
Mm-hmm.
Deontay will have some decent games there. Tank Dell's going to have some decent games there. Daryl Henderson's on a 3-week rental. TJ Warren, I don't really want much of that Pittsburgh run game. I think I might hold tight on this one.
Yeah, I don't think I do this deal. I don't think I do it.
And I just hold tight from the
7-0. Like, look, you're 7-0.
There is a point though too, right? Like, say the Vikings lose the next 3 games that they are before Jefferson comes back, and now they're looking at 3-7.
Yeah.
Right? Like, is there's a chance they just start shutting things down and going from there and playing for draft picks at that point, right? Like there's a chance of that. So like kind of like what we thought of the Rams last year, right? Like we all thought Cooper Kupp was coming back before the season was over, and sure enough, they shut him down season long.
Yep.
So, alrighty, there we go. Terry, full PPR for your flex: Devonta Smith, Deonta Foreman, Javonte Williams, Deontay, or Christian Watson. Terry bringing the heat on this one.
Terry, what are you doing to us? Hang on. I gotta look at some stuff.
Yeah, Terry, we'll get you an answer here in just a second. Got to look up some things here. Deonta Foreman has a little bit of a tougher matchup, probably about an RB20. Devonta Smith playing the Manders. I mean, that's
decent.
Probably right around a top 15 wide receiver. I'm going with Devonta Smith. The Manders, I just looked it up, actually give up the most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. So I think A.J. Brown's going to eat, and I think we'll also see Devonta Smith
Brown's
eat there as well.
Eating the last couple weeks too.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll go there.
Okay. Remember after like week 3, week 4, we told everybody to go trade, buy low on A.J. Brown because this was the last week that was going to happen, and hopefully everybody did that. All right. Also, are you trading Roschon, Ayuk, Goddard for Kenneth Walker, Schultz, and Jamison Williams? Lost Ford team is Stroud and Field, CMC, Roschon, Ford, Herbert, Diggs, Waddle, Ayuk, Flowers, Goddard at tight end.
No. I get it. I get the idea of wanting to get Kenneth Walker. In my opinion, Kenneth Walker is the best player in this trade, so you want to get the best player.
Well, you also got to look at that depth on running back right now. Herbert's on IR. Ford is going to miss some time, I believe, and Roschon's coming off concussion. I don't know that Roschon, like I said this a couple of weeks ago, even if he plays, I don't know that his window to take over that backfield and not give it back was for him to play before Donta Foreman started.
Who's Dylan? Here's.
I don't like the Jameson Williams side of that one.
Well,
go ahead.
I think you're going to run into trouble. You're trying to trade Roschon, like Ayuk, serviceable, right? He's been good, especially the last couple of weeks. And Goddard has turned it on the last 2 or 3 weeks. But like Roschon, again, you're dealing with, you don't want to play Roschon. So like, I can't imagine the guy's going to want to take this deal. I think you're going to have to give up.
Well, let's just say that Dylan got offered this thing because we don't know what the other
Sure.
manager is staring down. So at that point, right, you're staring down a trade offer. You got to pick either the Roschon Ayuk Goddard side or the Kenneth Walker Schultz Jameson side. Which side are you taking?
I'm taking the Kenneth Walker side. I want the best player.
Well, and when I'm looking at this roster too, like I'm a very big fan of what Brandon Ayuk is and what his upside is going to be.
Yes.
This season, right?
Yeah.
Was that way going into the season, but Roschon is a potential play, right? Ayuk is an actual, like, you can rock and roll Brandon Ayuk as a serviceable week in, week out starter every week, right? Set it and forget it type of wide receiver.
Yep.
Diggs and Waddle, if Waddle comes along, and I think that we're going to see Waddle come along sooner than later, but even if not, Zay Flowers has really kind of stepped up there and has been right around a back end wide receiver too. So you can do some of that. Jamison Williams, he's a stash type of play, but with his running back room as it sits, I think you got to get K9. You got to bring Kenneth Walker in because you don't really have a serviceable starting RB2.
No.
All right, let's see here. Waiver wire on Rashee Rice or Josh Downs?
Give me Rashee Rice. That something's happening in Kansas City.
Yeah, the fact that we keep seeing Rashee Rice continually getting into the into the lineup and earning touches and earning playing time and earning all of that stuff. I think you're right. I think we are seeing something happen there. I also like Josh Downs a lot. I think we're starting to see something happen here as well. And I think both of these guys are on the verge of their breakouts.
Yes.
But Rashee by a hair for me.
And especially this week because they're going up against Denver.
Reborn just got offered Lamb and Jonathan Taylor for Kenneth Walker and Olave. Just worried about K9's continued upside if he's not getting TDs. I mean, I get that. There's certainly a point that if a guy's not finding the end zone, the upside is limited there.
he's the show though in Seattle, right?
Right.
Charbonnet has not like. Look, there was a lot of concern. Like, why is Seattle drafting Charbonnet after, after drafting Kenneth Walker? And Charbonnet, yes, he got hurt and he's missing some time, but like he hasn't been able to displace Kenneth Walker. So Kenneth Walker is the show in Seattle. Jonathan Taylor is not the show in Indianapolis. I think we all thought he might be, but then Zach Moss kind of made it a point that you're not going to sit me, like so.
I think there's some of that though that we're going to start seeing where these guys are. It's going to be that Zach Moss is going to cede a lot of touches here.
Sure, I
towards
agree with
Jonathan Taylor, and I think you're right. I think Jonathan Taylor absolutely is going to get around 20 opportunities a game. I think Kenneth Walker is also going to get around 20 opportunities a game here as well.
So then it comes down to CD or Olave, and
I'd rather have CD than Olave.
I would too. So
there you go. But I mean, as far as the continued upside goes, he's with his limited upside that he's had on not getting a ton of touchdowns at this point. He's still sitting on only RB6 on the season.
Yeah.
So, even though he puts up just RB1 finishes week in, week out.
It's just this what it's been. Like he has been a set it and forget it running back.
I like this. He says Reishi is a higher ceiling, Downs has the higher floor. I could see that. George Ashton, Bills or Jets defense rest the season? I think I'd rather go with the Jets.
I gotta look. Hang on.
That's a kind of just a really, really good unit that they've got going on over there in New York on the defensive side of the ball, and they've been that way for a while.
Kind of a play the matchups defense guy, so if you can.
So am I. And strength of schedule, rest of the way through, they're pretty close. But playoff, the Jets have a much more favorable playoff run at that point. And so at this point, if I'm making moves on some of these things, I am looking a little bit ahead at what that weeks 15, 16, 17 type of matchup can be.
Yeah. Jets is tough because you got 2 games against the Dolphins, kind of right there in your stretch run.
Yeah. Well, championship game is against New England for the Bills. Then they've got the Chargers, the Cowboys, the Chiefs. Like that's the last 4 weeks of the fantasy season is Chiefs, Dallas, Chargers, New England.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, I lean Jets here.
And then in week 12, they have the Eagles. The Bills' best bets are this week against Tampa Bay, week 10 against Denver, week 11 against the Jets. After that, like the rest of the matchups are fairly tough.
Yeah.
Tingley saying that they've also got Kelsey and Pacheco. Does that make a difference? Just feel like my roster has too many Chiefs.
Oh, what did Tingley say to start?
That was the Reishi Rice or Josh Downs.
Oh, I gotcha. Look, it's not a bad thing. I get that. Like you feel like you are competing against yourself, but Patrick Mahomes is a special quarterback. He finds the way to get the ball into his playmakers' hands. And I can understand where you think that you're, picking from the same apple tree, but the Chiefs offense is really good. So I don't think you need to worry about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that it makes a difference. Tingley, I don't know that it makes a difference much for me on that standpoint between the Josh Downs, the Reishi Rice, because you've got Kelsey and Pacheco, simply from the standpoint too that you're getting these guys for stash play, upside type of play down the road here as well. So yeah, these aren't guys that you're going to be probably putting in and have to plug and chug and start week in, week out, rest of the season going forward. You're taking the approach of who has the better opportunity rest of season to blow up to the point where they can be used for bye weeks. They can be used for that. The fact that Kansas City doesn't have a number one wide receiver, and I mean wide receiver, not receiving option. We all know that that's Travis Kelce, but a number one wide receiver on this roster. Rashee Rice seems like he might be stepping up and developing as that, whereas Josh Downs is the number two option on that team behind. He's the number two wide receiver behind Pittman. Who do you guys believe is getting traded throughout the leagues? Guess is Henry. Other Titans available. The Bard move surprised him. Maybe T. Higgins, thinking Vikings could be in that moving as well. Any thoughts as far as rumblings you're hearing?
I think some Broncos players will find themselves playing for different teams. Yeah, I wouldn't be. I mean, look, I think we think every time that the Titans are going to move off of Henry. I think this has been kind of a thing the last couple of years, right? Because his production hasn't been, up to what we expected from him, which was, let's be realistic, unrealistic, right? Like the expectations for Derrick Henry were unrealistic because he was doing unrealistic things. So yeah, I think that's going to be kind of this revolving door of will Henry, get moved because the rest of the team around him isn't very good. They need a quarterback there. They need a better quarterback than what they've got. Or to just, let Ryan Tannehill be Ryan Tannehill and not keep drafting damn quarterbacks in the first round, wasting first round picks on quarterbacks. Or high second round, I should say, with this last year.
Right.
Yeah, I think you're going to see the next 2 weeks, I think, determine will Vikings be sellers? Will the Broncos be sellers? It's tough, though. It's tough to move a bunch of players in the NFL because, how valuable the preseason is in terms of learning playbooks and all that fun stuff.
Yes, that's very true. All right. Terry asking, do you like Jordan Love this weekend against Minnesota? It really depends on who your other options are.
I would like another option if I had another option. Right. I don't know that I like Jordan Love
the rest of the way.
I would like another option.
There we go. Stafford at Dallas or Lawrence against Pittsburgh. Out of all those options, I'm taking Lawrence out of Pittsburgh.
Yep, me too.
Okay. Dylan saying that the Eagles have got to have something on the Titans because that deal was too cheap. Same thing. We thought the deal was too cheap when A.J. Brown went that way too. So
Howie Roseman's a stud.
Yes. Terry asking any updates on Christian Watson or Deshaun Watson. So as far as Deshaun Watson goes, apparently he had another MRI today from what I saw. Still in that, we're in the wait and see approach. I am, as a Deshaun Watson manager in the home league, I am actively looking at trying to find other options. Any thoughts on, have you heard anything on Christian Watson?
No.
Let's see.
I'm just going to go. Looks like they're saying he avoided a serious knee injury. But
yeah, that's what I'm seeing as well. It just says that he avoided serious injury. The test came back good on that one, but we're not seeing anything as far as missing time, anything like that. Still, again, very early in the week. So, Terry, let's keep a look on these practice reports here and see how that comes to play.
No.
Olave or Jonathan Taylor now and rest of season? Honestly, give me the position with the scarcer position there, and that would be Jonathan Taylor at the running back.
Yep.
All right. All right. Let's go ahead and move on down here. All right. So Gigi, to go back to my Kincaid question, looks like Dawson will be out some time, and Juwan is set to come back, which will cut into Tayson's usage because they play 4 tight ends when healthy. You're right. They do, right? All of that comes into play there. However, I am not playing Dalton Kincaid this week. Like if you want to pick him up off your waiver, go ahead and rock and roll that one. Just I am not looking for Dalton Kincaid to have a very good week 8 for you. He was in my pine there, and while he's projected to be, running or tight end 10 this week, I think he's got a really, really tough shot here against Tampa Bay. And for the most part, he's got an okay matchup the rest of the slate there, but you're probably looking back end tight end 1. So rest of the season, I'd call him tight end 11, 12. Week 8 here, he's ranked as the 10th tight end. I think he probably finishes closer to tight end 15, 16.
GZ, I think you look. I understand this number 1 waiver priority is like a golden ticket. I think you're fine with Taysom Hill. I don't think you need to pull the trigger on a tight end just to use your number 1 waiver wire. I think you can hold on. You don't need to make that move.
Honestly, I would wait until after the waivers run and then look at during the free agency ad period when the waiver wire isn't going to count against you.
Yeah,
tight end, you're streaming tight end typically anyway, right? Like if you don't have Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, T.J. Hawkins, Sam Laporta, even throw George Kittle in there, even though that has had some up and down games. But really, if you don't have one of those top 4 guys, you're going to just be streaming the position and you're playing matchups week in, week out type of thing there. And so, I get the want to go out there and get the guy and try and set and forget type of deal here. Dalton Kincaid is not your set and forget it type of guy there, right? Like he's going to be a guy that this week's going to struggle. Then he'll probably blow up, and then he'll have another week where he struggles, and you're going to be better off long-term season if you're just simply going after the matchups and targeting the matchups off the waiver wire with tight end. Right? If you didn't spend up early to get Travis Kelce, and like we said all along, it was Travis Kelce or bust. You just kind of move off of that one.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts there?
I think that's that.
Yeah, I think what you said, like let the free agent or let the waiver wire run, and then if you need to add, so that you can add, and it doesn't kill your waiver wire.
Okay, and let the waiver wire come to you. Don't chase the waiver.
Yeah.
Nope. Well, chase it in some regards. Tight end's not a
tight end. Yeah.
Yes. Chase it for running backs. Chase it for wide receivers. Do not let the tight ends come to you. It'll all be good. All right. This is gonna be our last question. We're gonna call it a night here. Would you rather have Kenneth Walker, Olave, Brees, or Brees, Lamb, Jonathan Taylor, Olave? I don't really understand this question.
I'm not sure I understand the question either.
I got names on every side of the deal here.
I know that I would rather have Kenneth Walker.
Yeah.
I would rather have Kenneth Walker than Jonathan Taylor, if that's what you're asking. But I'm not sure I understand the question.
Okay, so I think he's still trying to run through another trade option here. Oh, so it's a 3 for 3, but he can pivot between Jonathan Taylor and Olave. Okay.
But you got okay.
So, but at that point, I've got Brees Hall on both sides of the deal, and I've got Olave
on both
sides of the deal. So I'd rather have Jonathan Taylor over Chris Olave at this point.
Are you trying to decide?
Oh, hold on. Did he have something for us earlier? Hang on.
Yeah, he got offered Lamb and Jonathan Taylor for Kenneth Walker and Olave. Just worried about K9's continued upside if he's not getting TDs. So I'd rather have Kenneth Walker over Jonathan Taylor.
Yep.
I'd rather have CD Lamb over Chris Olave.
Yes.
And Breece Hall is on both sides of the trade. Like I want Breece Hall as well. But
yeah.
So let's take Breece out of the equation, and it comes back to: would you rather have Kenneth Walker and Olave or Lamb and Jonathan Taylor?
At that rate, we said Lamb and Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah. Yeah, because Jonathan Taylor and Olave will see similar opportunities to it.
Jonathan Taylor and Kenneth Walker.
Yes.
Like they're gonna be statistically the same, right? Like that's what we're anticipating. We're anticipating that you said 20 touches each.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
So then we're back to what we were before Reborn. We'd rather have Lamb instead of Olave, and if Lamb only comes with Jonathan Taylor, then we'll take that side of it.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Okay. All righty. Well, I think that's going to do it for us. Any final thoughts out there for the viewers and listeners?
No, hope you enjoyed it without Kevin here. We think he'll be back next week, and you won't have to listen to me talk so much. If you guys do still have questions, throw them to us on the socials that Derek is going to tell you about right now.
Absolutely. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all the social places at Good Old Boys FF. Best place though to support the show, head over to the YouTube channel, click the subscribe button, ring that bell, get the notifications for when we go live. We'll be back again live on Friday night, 11 p.m. Eastern, breaking down the slate of games and helping you all answer all of your questions there as well. And then we'll be back again Tuesday, 11 p.m. Eastern there as well. So that's going to do it for us. He's Alex. I'm Derek. Kevin will be back next week. Have a good one. Toodaloos. Be safe. Toodaloos. There we go. I got it.